Hi guys, how's it going? See if this is working or not. All right, let me get this up. All right, how is everybody? I know everybody's kind of on mute, so I guess it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down, depending on how you're doing. I just wanted to wait just a few more minutes here until make sure everyone's jumped on. Just a quick overview, if you've never used Zoom before, that on the bottom, on the left-hand side, you'll see that that's where your microphone is. You can turn that on and off, or mute and unmute rather. Same thing with your video. If you're interested in using your video, turn that on and off as well on the left-hand side. There's an option to chat, so you can send me anything or send me notes if you don't want to interrupt the class or something that you'd rather say. In the chat, you can do that as well. So looks like we have quite a few folks. 1, 2, 3, let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's pretty good. I know not everyone will be able to make it. And so some folks will get to, hey, Christy, some folks will get to watch the replay. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. It is 6:30 anyway. First of all, I'm really excited that you guys are all here and able to join me on this. I'm really pumped to get to work with you now until October. It's amazing that through these 9 sessions, it's going to expand out that long. But it's really kind of nice. We did this. I've done this a couple of times now, and it's fun to get to kind of virtually coach people from wherever we are, and just kind of stay in touch with you and keep tabs on your progress. And you can reach out to me at any time and send me notes or ask me questions or whatever's going on. So it's kind of nice to stay in touch with folks. The clinics on the road are also a lot of fun, but it seems like after the clinic, we kind of get disconnected and not everybody stays connected. And then all the progress and all the motivation we had kind of tends to leave. So not everybody has to do this. I did go over all the feedback that you left on the questionnaire, so thanks for doing that, first of all. Most everybody in the group is, so most folks were in level 4, and then and if they weren't level 4, they're mostly level 3. So pretty good group, I think. And even if you weren't there, I think it's going to be good. Most everybody is using this Hadley Club what looked like about once a week, so that's pretty. And a lot of you guys told me that your biggest interests or kind of your motivation for being here was there's a lot of body posture and fluidity type concepts, which is cool. So we'll get to review that stuff in the next couple sessions. Also, there was a lot about connection and taking your relationship to the next level and things like that. So that was pretty much the gist of it, which is nice. But I would though, if you want, just to bounce around and whoever, because this was the first time kind of getting to meet everybody, if you would just quickly unmute yourself if you're interested and just say kind of who you are and where you're from and just that sort of thing. We don't have to take lots of time, but just a real quick, short introduction, because this is kind of our virtual class as we get going through the next several sessions. So whoever wants to start, because I'm sure that the order is different on my computer than it is your computer. So whoever wants to start, just unmute yourself, say who you are and where you're from and kind of what you're basically working on, and we'll go from there.
Hi, this is Kit from Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Can you hear me?
How are you, Kit? I can.
Great. Well, my level 4 horse is injured, and so she's on a timeout, and I have a level 1 horse that is a real challenge for me and something I've never dealt with before. So I'm looking forward to getting some insight on how to work with this horse.
Cool.
How long have you had this one?
Just a few months. He's a left brain introvert, and he's 14, and he's had a little bit of Pirelli in the past and nothing much else. Been in a pasture with a stallion for a long time. So he has some interesting behaviors.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. So hold those behavior thoughts because we're gonna dive into that sort of idea here in just a couple minutes. So awesome. I'm excited. Well, first of all, I'm sad that your level 4 horse is injured, but I'm glad that you have an opportunity to kind of bring another horse along, even if it does feel like starting over. You're going to realize through that just how much you've grown in the last several years since you started over again. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great for your horsemanship as well. Because oftentimes with our horses every day, we get into patterns. We'll talk about that in a minute too. We get into patterns, and then we don't always go to phase 1. We start at phase 2 or phase 3. We kind of skip things, and we just kind of, like Pat says, some familiarity breeds contempt. We kind of just get into things, and so I think this is great. So I hope your other horse gets going soon, but I'm happy you get to have this experience also. So great.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
I'm Christy from Pagosa Springs, Colorado, and just happy to be part of this. I'm trying to be more confident with my 6-year-old Mustang mare. I don't know why it's taken me so long, but it's just life and other things getting in the way. And finally took her riding all by myself across the road onto other property this week, and felt like that was a huge milestone for me and her.
That's awesome. Good. Super. Well, that's great. Good steps forward because you've come a long way with your little Mustang there, so that's great. Super. Anybody else?
Happy solstice. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. My name is Barbara, and I'm also from southwestern New Mexico. I live in the middle of nowhere, and so I love doing online learning. And one of the reasons I got into Pirelli was because of their home study program. So I'm really excited to be here in this class, and I have 3 horses total. One is a 23-year-old thoroughbred mare that's retired and enjoying her retirement. She has 2 young boys that she bosses around. One is 4 and one is 5. And I make lots of jokes that every woman over the age of 50 that's menopausal should go to the racetrack and adopt a 3-year-old racehorse. So choose your own adventure. It's not my first racehorse, but I wasn't sure at my age if I could do this again. And last year I took him up for a 2-week course, and we had a great time. And mostly it's going pretty well. And Christy, I so appreciate your videos, and how lucky are you to get to work with Linda. You have been so helpful to me with my other youngster, who I learned with your latest session that I watched that I need to be more bossy.
Yeah, so did you just watch the one that came out in the Savvy Essentials for June?
Yeah, that's really probably was shot in like September or something cold.
It was very cold, and it was October.
Okay, well, I was guessing. I was like, they've had that in the can for a while. I could have used that months ago. So Ryan, I'm really looking forward to this to keep myself on track. And, you know, I found things like where I was, you know, picking up the stick and, you know, it's no longer effective. They learn to ignore it. So things like that, or watching for the ear, watching for the proper body postures, and just I need help riding better. So everything, anything, it's all good.
Great. Well, that's exciting. Awesome. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, cool. So I'm Jenny, and I'm in Tennessee. And hi, everybody. So this will be my first time doing an online learning course, but I had the pleasure of learning from Ryan in several other courses, and had a great time. So yeah, so when I saw this opportunity, I thought, oh, this looks like a good one for me. So I have a little quarter horse mare that I'm hopeful to get my level 3 on. Don't really know what my path is going to be, but I know I want to gear towards getting my level 4. So that's about all I can say right now as I'm trying to figure out what my goals are.
Awesome.
Well, thanks.
Good enough.
Well, my name is Michelle Smith, and can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good. I am calling in tonight from a hotel room, actually, because I'm doing training for my job.
Oh,
But I am in Florida, and my goals for I have a appendix gelding that I've had for about 1.5 years now, and he is very much left brain extrovert, but goes right brain in a nanosecond. And my goals for him is to eventually do some dressage, but before that, my goal has been to gain his confidence, because he was very unconfident everywhere, even in the arena, but mostly out and about, very unconfident. So that's been my goal for the last year, is to get him more confident, and of course get myself more confident with him, and eventually get my level 4 with him. I think that's
Great.
it.
Super.
Hi,
Awesome.
Kay Greeley.
Hey, Kate.
Hi, Christy. I have a 10-year-old quarter horse mare that I've been working with. I have 3 horses, but she's my main levels horse, and we are working towards level 4 and really looking to refine the way we communicate. So we're working on getting more while asking less. I think that's our main thing right now.
Cool. So getting more while asking less.
Yeah, and I'm if it looks like I'm on here twice, it's because I'm on my cell phone finishing dinner, and then I'll be back up at my computer.
No worries. Great. Anybody else? Well, okie doke then. Well, no problem. If at any time you want to pop in the chat or introduce yourself in the chat, you go for it.
I'm
And
not sure.
feel free at any time. There you go. There's somebody.
Okay, this is Terry Gorley, and I don't know. Can you hear me okay? I just found out how to undo the mute, but I can't figure out how to do my face. But that's probably okay for you all. So I was just, I'm interested in the class because I'm working with a youngster who's 4, and I'm gonna use this as motivation to keep progressing with him.
Cool. Great. How's he doing? Awesome. Since I was a few weeks ago.
You know, pretty good. We've been doing the same activities in the saddle and bending and suppling. I think he's gotten better. I have a question for you about the sound still. He does that quite regularly, and I was thinking maybe there's something I need to do differently, but that would be my question for later. So
The sound being all the tension, all the gelding noise thing.
yes, that's exactly it.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll get to that. Well, great. I'm so happy you're here.
Me too.
Anybody else? Then we'll get. All right. I think that was pretty much everybody anyway. All righty. So what I want to start with is, so if you've been with me before, either in a clinic or in a course or whatever, you had this experience. I'm just going to mute that. You've gone through this, or you've heard me talk about it anyway. But I like to always start with this kind of filter. And so it's all about the setup, and I'm going to give you relationship anyway. And so in the chat, I'm going to send you right now a form. So if you're on the phone, you won't get this right now, but you'll get it after we're done. I'll send it to you. If I send it to you before, you guys are eager beavers, and you time. So I have to wait until you guys are here. So in the chat, you should have just received a file from me that says horsemanship, habits, and we'll go over it in just a minute. But basically, what I want to start with is bring everything into perspective and to try to make things really simple. And remember that horsemanship is nothing more than the perpetual habits and skills that horses and humans need to become partners. That simple. But what ends up happening, especially if you're goal-oriented and you're progressive and you're an achiever by nature, we end up focusing on kind of what our horses aren't doing and what they need to do in order to achieve whatever we want them. Only solving problems, or we end up always having to fix things. And when we think about, the qualities of a horseman and our attitude, we all come at it from an attitude of I've got to fix this and fix that and do this and do that. It's not so playful. It's kind of like direct line, this and this and this. And that's why I interpret that they switched in Pirelli from doing like the levels assessments, and it moved into auditions to kind of move you away from that, to keep your attitude a little more playful and to grow your overall savvy instead of just kind of always having to fix the task and get it to be better. I'm going to open up this document on my computer and let you look at what I did, because I'm going to challenge you to do this right now. And you're looking at this going, oh, well, it's a little bit more difficult. And so this is it's a PDF, but you can start to it out on a printout, or you can just take a sheet of scratch paper, divide it into 4 quadrants, and then in half again, and follow along that way, whatever is easier for you. But in essence, I did this on my horse Patrick. I didn't give you a lot of examples because I didn't want you to use just my examples, but I want to give you an idea. And so a horse that I have, his name is Patrick. I've owned him probably a year and a half now, and but he came into training a little bit before that, and he's really a super horse. I love him dearly, but he's interesting for me. He's a little bit challenging in the sense that I am more of a right brain person myself, so I really empathize well with right brain introverts. That's kind of they're easy for me. That's it. But he's my opposite. He's more left brain and more left brain extrovert, and me in ways. And so it's easy for me to get kind of frustrated because he's different than me. And it's easy for me to pick on all the things that I don't perceive right. Like he's a little more pushy, or he's a little more this. And then I got to, oh crap, my driving game's busted and I need to get more particular and. Well, for left brain horse, that's the wrong thing to do, is be more particular, at least in the beginning, because then if it's not set up the right way, they feel like you're picking on them, and then they get more irritated. So what I've done is I've taken Pat's quote, or his definition of the perpetual habits and skills horses and humans need to become partners, and just broken it down into basically what are the habits and skills for the horse. So for Patrick, that is going to serve to become partners, to serve the partnership. What are my habits and skills that's going to serve the partnership? What are my horse's habits and skills that are not serving the partnership? And what are my habits and skills that are not serving the partnership? And I'm going to talk about mine first, and then I'm going to have you do yours. But I don't want you to get too hung up on, well, what's a habit and what's a skill? I briefly defined it as a habit as an automatic reaction it's a regular tendency or practice. It's just something that kind of happens. Whereas the skill is like a particular ability. They've been taught to do that. There's something that's kind of, it's something that they've learned. It's more of a learned behavior. It's not something that's just so innate. But don't get bogged down in the detail of that, because that's not super important. But what I want to take from this session today is I want to kind of try to play with your brain a little bit and to get you to not think about just what task do I need to improve, but more like what behavior that's already positive can I enhance. So for example, Patrick, a positive behavior that he has is he's always like at the gate. He's always there. He's kind of always like he's looking for kind of what's going on. He's always kind of scanning the environment. He's just kind of has that presence about him. And I didn't have to train that. I didn't do anything about it. It's just him. And so what does that tell me? It's like, well, putting these behaviors that I may not always recognize down on paper, it's caused me to kind of slow down, because I would take that for granted going, awesome, he's standing at the gate. I don't have to walk across the pasture. Like, I can be more efficient. Instead of actually taking 2 minutes at the gate, finding the itchy spots, or bringing a treat to the gate, and one day turning that into he's going to canter to the gate, right? Like, how do I enhance what's already good? What's a skill? You know, like, as most of the class is moving into level 4, and even if you aren't, you're here in this class. So you're progressive, you're goal-oriented, and you want to make progress. So sometimes, like, I like down here that he has a skill us online, and it's like that for me to even acknowledge that as a 4-star instructor and as a level 4 graduate, I go, like, he should be level 4 by now. But that's not the right attitude to look at it at all, because he started at like a -3. And so I need to acknowledge the fact of how far he's come, because it's easy to get really stuck in this going like, I've got to get the black string. I've got to get to level 4. I've got to get to level 4. And I got to get this, instead of going, you know, he's operating at a level 2 standard consistently. It's like, and that's really great. And so now how do I take the skills that level 2's taught me, you know, to be able to play at phase 1 and phase 2 on a 22-foot line with an obstacle, and now enhance that and do it in different zones and in different different gates and things like that. So thinking about my progression as instead of as this is just kind of trying to keep me like in the moment, but also to keep a good attitude about where I'm at, and to not always approach things in this kind of, I have to, for the human. And you go, oh crap, like, I'm not a good writer. I need my posture better. My time stinks, and this and that. And you only say those things to yourself because you care about your horse so much and you care about the relationship. But you need to also be realistic and go, okay, like, what are some things that I bring to the relationship and the partnership so that I can stop thinking about that and think about something else? So, like, for me, I'm patient. I tend to be pretty quiet. I don't tend to get in a hurry. So I tend to be patient. I tend to be quiet. Habit is I have a pretty natural independent seat. I haven't had to work on that very much. I think kind of as a guy that might be a little more natural or something. But with that comes a whole other set of challenges. But independent seat is something that I put down as a habit so that I can kind of be easier on myself in other areas and be more present to work on other things. And what's a skill that I've developed that's helping me is, you know, this horse, this isn't my first horse to level 4. So I have a pretty clear plan or the development path. I can see that it's you know, that's a skill. I did not have that in the beginning. That was one of my big goals up at Linda's barn. Every week we do goal boards, and it was every week in the beginning, be like, I need a clear horse development, and you're going, well, Ryan, isn't the levels that plan? It's like, not necessarily. The levels program is the people teaching horse teaching program. It moves in after you've gone through that a few times, then it moves into horse development type mentality. But that's not really important for this conversation. But the essence of it is that, you know, I've developed a skill set or an awareness about the picture, the plan, and the feeling. I know what it's going to look like when I get there. I know what it's going to feel like, and what's going to look like, what's going to feel like, and kind of how to do that. Now, obviously, that's still going to grow. That's only as good as today. But I want to acknowledge that because that was not natural to me in the beginning. I'd always be really hesitant going, oh, I don't know if it's the right time, and I don't know that. And then it makes your leadership really wishy-washy. But now, down to the bottom part, your horse. So what are some habits that I think Patrick has that doesn't serve the relationship? It seems contrary to the above, but his whole, like, he kind of looks and kind of is always kind of scanning, and he's always there. He connects really easily. A habit, actually a skill I'm going to add here as I'm talking about it, is he doesn't feel safe. So I'm just going to put safety there. I'll get there in a minute. What's something he's learned? He's learned to pull back under pressure. And you go, well, could that be a habit? It's like, yes, it could become a habit. However, he learned to do that. He found release doing that. It happened again. He found more release doing that. And now it's a go-to thing. You tie him up and he feels stuck and he'll just pull back. That's just it. So it's a skill now. It's just boom. It's just, he has a particular ability to do that. He leans. So if he feels pressure, he's going to pull on the rope. And so it's no surprise when he's playing the circuit out or the rope is taut, you know, that those things show up. So when you can put these behaviors and skills kind of on and go, oh, yeah, that porcupine game behind the ears, that's not just in the yo-yo game, but that's also showing up on the circle. So it must not be about the circle or the yo-yo game. It's about yielding to steady pressure. So that's why I'm spending the time going over this. And then a skill, he has a training. When the pressure comes on or he does brain, when he feels suppressed, he's even more inclined to go, oh my gosh. So putting this down helps me to recognize the behavior when it comes up. Because what would happen, to give you a short example, is how do I acknowledge that he doesn't feel safe? Well, like Terry just kind of alluded to, the tension, all those oftentimes when they're tense, particularly the geldings, the stallions do it also, not some, but there's a noise that's often created, and it's what is often referred to as the gelding noise, and it's like a squawky, squawk, squawk, squawk type of noise. And that's the first time that he feels unsafe, but even more than that, he'll start to call to the other horses, even if they're in the arena. So I'll be trotting around on a loose rein, playing freely forward, and he'll all of a sudden start to call, and it's like, you know, there's a weird thing to that. It's like, but the horses, the herd is in here. So it doesn't have so much to do with the herd, but it's his ability to feel safe with my leadership and in the environment under these. So once I wrote it down, because when that first happened, when that behavior first showed up, I connected to it as I did not connect to it as he feels unsafe. So putting it down on paper often kind of helps to relate to the. What are some things that I have that might not be serving the partnership? Well, is again contrary to the above. I am patient and quiet, but at the same time, I can be not progressive. I can almost be too patient. I can Despite my plan, I want to take the time it takes. I'm just fine with that. And I can be not progressive. And frankly, the place that I'm at right now is I think it's almost worse to be not progressive than it is to be too conservative or too patient, because your timing really slows down. Like, I don't know, you may not you might not agree with me right now on that, and that's okay. But I just think that being progressive and at least kind of starting to go, yeah, I got a green light, I'm gonna move on. It's like I don't need the green light to be dark green. Like it's green, so move. And then once it turns to yellow, then you start to wait until it turns green again. And looking at it from that perspective instead of going, things are great, and then horses start to lean on the bit, they start to push on you, they start to do all these things because we're not progressive. I tend to push my hands down. I don't think about it. I kind of get tight in my fingers, my hands go down, which then, particularly with contact, makes it a funny feeling for him. And a skill, I don't know. I'm not sure. As used this right now, I'm going to go ahead and take this off the screen. Oops. Oh, I don't need that anymore.
Ryan, what do you mean by you put your hands down? Are you talking about when you're riding and you're not? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So particularly with the contact, I push my hands down and just make a hard feel, especially if I'm worried or if I'm not clear on the goal. Those things happen. So before I turn you loose to do it, if you haven't already started, do you have any comments or questions about anything that I said or the purpose, the why behind the exercise? All right, so I'll give you minutes to do it. Whenever you are finished, if you wouldn't mind just in the chat saying done or finished or something, I'll give you like 5 minutes or something. Just look over it, and even as you're doing it, I'm gonna just go over it again. It's like the top part is what skills, like what habits and behaviors are coming up that are working or that are really positive that I want to enhance. You know, it's like the horse that needs to be at the gate, or they're off on the rope, or they're whatever those things are that are really positive. And go, well, then I'll talk to you about why that's important in a minute. And then you go, well, what are some things that I naturally do that are helpful for my horse? Like whatever those things are. I don't have busy hands. My hands are quiet. I don't bounce when I ride. I'm soft. I don't get in a hurry. What positive things have you learned? Everybody, too, to be functioning at the level that you are, you've learned a great deal of skill to even get here. By the time you're in level 4, there's like 400 to 500 things that you and your horse have learned. There are so many things that we often forget what those things are. And this top part of the sheet is so that you can be easier on yourself and not put so much focus on all the things that you need to improve in order to move on. But what things can you more or less enhance? And then the bottom part is going, all right, those are some things the habits and skills that I need to interrupt or I need to change. You know, the fact that Patrick pulls away whenever he feels pressure, that's not helping the partnership. So what do I need to do about that? How do I make a plan or a strategy around that? So, and then same thing, like for me, do you turn your toes out and you tend to have your heels on all the time? Is it that you get in a hurry? Is it that you are moving too fast? Is it that you are, what are some of those things? So just kind of as I talk, you know, just jot those down, and then I'm just in the chat. Just tell me you're finished, and then we'll move on in a second.
Okay.
Terry? Okay. Give it just a few more minutes and then and then I'll tell you what to do with it. And as we go through this course, already I kind of hope you're going, wow, I never really thought about this. If it ain't, it's kind of the way that these theory sessions tend to work, is it's a chance to kind of play with your brain. Course isn't present and you can really kind of think. But if at any time that I kind of get airy or think too deep or say something that doesn't make sense, just feel free to stop me and be happy to clarify.
I can't seem to figure out how to do the chat thing.
Okay, no big deal. It sounds like you're done anyway, but the chat is to the right of the share the screen button. If you take your mouse over the screen, like you just kind of take your mouse and bump the screen, you'll see a toolbar pop up at the bottom.
Got it.
And there's a little bubble there.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll give it just one more minute and then we'll get started. Looks like people are finishing up. Does anybody, before I tell you how I'd like you to take that information and utilize what you've just done, is there anybody that would like to share just briefly what you wrote down on, put out to you that maybe you didn't realize or that sort of thing? Just unmute yourself and. Okay.
Ryan, can you repeat what you said? I'm sorry, my internet went crazy for a second.
No worries. I just asked for anybody that's interested in sharing kind of what you wrote down for your habits and skills and before I tell you what I'd like you to do with the information.
I will.
Go for it.
Okay, it's cutting out. I don't understand. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
For the horse's habits, and I don't know if I did this correctly, so I'm just throwing it out there. She does meet me at the gate. She's always happy to see me. Can you hear me still? Okay. Yep. Skills, I put she stands well during saddling. She's very confident and calm. My human habits and skills, I don't really know what to put down on that. That's good. I think most of my habits are pretty bad, except I brush my horse and I take care of her. The horse on the bottom side, habits, she backs up and goes sideways whenever she disagrees with something I'd like her to do instead of moving forward. She will stop to eat grass. She tries to take over constantly. Her skills, I don't know, I put she stands tied well, but that's not I don't think that belongs there. And my human bad stuff there, I'm always telling her no. I'm always micromanaging and too quick with my hands. I am good with liberty. That's about all I got.
Okay, well, wait a minute. So that goes up top.
What?
Put that down. I'm good at liberty. That goes up top, and what habits and skills are good. So that's important.
Okay.
So Ryan, this is Barbara. I have more of a question.
Yes.
I assume this is for us to identify places where we need to work on and things where we also need to kind of rejoice in what we're doing well. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm going
because
to talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of the things my horse, I would still put down in I had trouble putting it there because it's something I identified from the very beginning, but it's become so minor that, and I must be addressing it correctly, it's become so minor that I almost don't want to write it down anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I get the idea of your exercise.
Yes, and I would put it there. Yeah. Anybody else want to share?
I could say a few things. I'm definitely one of those people who's more about what I can't do than what I do right. But I would say some of the skills that my horse has that are really good is he's easily haltered. He puts his head down nicely. He actually puts his nose into either the halter or the bit. He doesn't actually search for the bit like I've seen some of Linda's horses do, but he definitely will easily take the bit, and that's one thing that I absolutely love about him. And the other thing, I don't know, I'm kind of not 100% sure about which is a skill and which is a habit, but at Liberty, for only owning him a year and a half, our Liberty is pretty phenomenal. He sticks with me really well. And I just feel like our Liberty skills are good for not having him very long. The human good stuff, as far as habits and skills, I have no idea what I do good and what habits I have are good. I guess I read him really well. I think I read a lot of horses pretty good as far as, if they're left brain, if they're scared.
Okay.
I think that's a good skill and habit that I've, obtained. Some of the non-partnership behavior is he won't stand still. He's very extroverted. Whether I'm grooming him or whether we're saddling or, that kind of stuff, I feel like he's always wanting to move. And we definitely have to work on that more and more. The other thing, kind of goes with the good and the bad. Even though he's amazing at Liberty at times, sometimes when I ask for an increase in gait at Liberty, that's his cue to kind of go free. But he comes back pretty easily. And the human side, I think that when I'm riding, I'm very tense in my shoulders and I forget to relax. And, I'm constantly doing a scan from head to toe and it always goes back to my shoulders, making the rest of me tense. Sometimes I forget to go to phase 4 when I need to because he's pretty sensitive, so I don't always feel like I need to. And then sometimes you do. And then the other thing is I forget to let him make the mistake. I want to correct him and someone else said micromanage before he gets to the mistake instead of letting him think about it and actually doing it or not doing it. I think that's all I have.
Awesome. And I like that as you're explaining there, you said, something that I do well is as I read him well. And frankly, even taking the time, at least you have a characteristic about you that you observe him and that you're watching him and you're looking for things. So that's really cool. But no, this all sounds good. So I'd love to hear a lot more from everybody, but just to kind of keep things moving along, part about this now, it's kind of, well, what do you do about it? And I think that Barb was right on track with my intention. So I'm just going to open up here and just so I can kind of type out and play with this. Next week or next session, go how to really solve problems and to really use the 7 games as tools and think about what actually a series of techniques. But I want to kind of move into that too. So it's like, now, great, Ryan, you've spent like the last 45 skills and all this and that. But now, what do I do with that? And so the point of it is a little bit to interrupt your pattern to go. I want to get you out of your, I go to the pasture, I do this, I do that. I want you to start to read, like, what does your horse offer you, and is it really working for you? And the is if it isn't, it's something that you can just change. And that's what I look for as I'm teaching. I am just looking at your habits and your skills and going, nope, that's not on the right track, or yep, that's on the right track. So for example, you know, so he meets at the gate, like, all right, great. So that's a really positive thing. So how would I reward behavior and for granted and go, yep, he meets me at the gate. I check the box. I've achieved connection. I'm off. Like, now I'm going to actually spend more time. What problem? Spend time and go, all right, I'm going to build rapport here. I'm just going to like hang out with you, not go about my agenda because I don't want to break that. So it might be by actually spending time and building rapport, and go ahead and adding in scratches so that your horse puts even more effort, not stretches, scratches. Puts even more effort into puts even more effort into getting there. I don't know if someone's talking. What else? He takes the bit. What's really funny about that is my old horse, Rembrandt, before he passed away, he was really afraid of contact. He hated it, but he would take the bit like it was nobody's business. He would just, we called it, put your hat on. He just kind of put his hat on and he just loved it. It was the funniest thing. But anyway, but it's like, all right, so how do you know, but also more than that, you notice when they're doing those things, that's often exuberance. Like my whole old horse, like taking the bit, he loved doing that. Like that was exuberance. Exuberance is defined as putting more effort into something than what you've asked. And oftentimes we connect to exuberance as I point left, they jump in the air, they kick out, and they run and go, wow, that's fun. They put a lot of energy in. It's like, no, actually not. That's not exuberance. The jumping around and farting around, that's not really, even though the horse might be having fun, they're not putting effort into what you ask. They're taking over and having this big opinion. So how might I encourage that? It's like, well, first of all, it's like, even as Michelle said that, I love him doing that. Just you being happy is really important because they feel your energy. There's something about that, and I don't want to get into it too much, but there's something about just your energy, being happy and acknowledging, just taking the moment to go, yeah, that's awesome. There's something to that. What might you do to kind of make that a game and to take it to the next level? It's like, I'm going to hold the bit out, and I'm going to put a treat or in my hand, and the game is not to take the bit, but to stick your nose through the cheek pieces, and you get the cookie. And then the goal is now I'm going to hold the bit. To hold the headpiece. Have the cookie under the bit until he goes, all right, I'll take that. So you teach them to stick their nose to the cheek pieces. They grab the bit, that's step one. Then step two is then the bit, and then step three is to hold the headpiece, hold the crown. They take the bit, you put it up, and then you give them the cookie. So it's like, all right. Anyway, what else are some positive things? Easy to halter. So again, in that moment of haltering, it's not just, great, you're here, let me put this puppy on you so I can get going. It's like, what's the feeling that should feel like for your horse so that it just gets even better and better. The next thing is, what about you? This is so that you can stay more left brain in a right brain situation. I'm not typing anymore, so I'm going to just turn this off. I'll go back to typing in a minute on the next part. But that's important for you to stay left brain and right brain situation. Why? Because when I'm riding a challenging horse, I don't have time for the thoughts of I don't ride well to enter my head. That's not a good time for that to happen. So what is your daily practice? And is it telling yourself, I'll get this back on me. I don't know. Is your daily practice I'm not a good enough leader, I'm not a good enough leader, I'm not a good enough leader, and then all of a sudden the bird flies out of the tree and your horse needs you to be the leader, it's time to step up and go, I've got you. Like, I can handle this. So it's time to start going, all right, now I've got to be easy on myself in some way. And also the other part of that is we're trying to learn so much. Like, there's so much coming in from the Savvy Club, from the Memory Minutes, from your instructors, from the clinics, from all the stuff that you're trying to do, that honestly, you can probably only do about 3 of the 14 things that you're thinking about. And so to really just make it simple and go, all right, I am pretty good at my horse. I'm not going to focus on that so much. I'm going to trust that skill set, because that's what gets you confident, is starting to trust the skills that you have. I am confident in my independent seat because I've ridden enough horses that jump around that I go, I don't have to worry about it so much. I can now focus on their brain and not my seat. So how do you get that? Well, it's experience, exposure, all that sort of stuff. But you have to trust the skill set. And,
Hey, Ryan.
And the skill set either grows or it gets, go for it.
You brought that up. So that made me think. So that is why it's so important to be able to identify what those skills in that exercise that you just had us do. That's why it's so important to spend the time and identify what those skills are, so that
Exactly.
you can kind of set that aside and trust that, what did you say? Trust those skills that you have, and you can move on.
Right.
You see
And exactly. I think you're on the right track with that.
Okay, because I
And
had a really
the other
hard
part-
time with that exercise, writing anything down. I had a really hard time with that
Yeah.
exercise, writing anything down. So when you said that, it started making sense.
I'm right
Yeah.
there with you. Totally
For
understand.
sure. I understand. It's hard to give yourself credit because we want to be better than we are. Like, we want to be better. And I'm not saying to give yourself an ego. I'm not saying that you have to go, I am the best rider that my horse has ever had. I'm just going to get it right, and I'm going to nail it, and it'll be awesome. You don't have to be arrogant, but you need to take the pressure off, and that's more or less what I'm trying to say. Because you putting pressure on yourself, your horse feels that. Your horse knows how much pressure you're putting on yourself, and they feel it. Because I just said a minute ago, just be happy. They know when you're happy, and you know that. You just kind of get this relaxation about you, and they feel that. Well, they feel your dialogue of going, this and all that and all this, and I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
That happens, and so I don't want you to overthink this stuff, and I don't mean to spend so much time, but it is important. And even more than that, coming back to the 10 qualities of a horseman, it keeps you in the right attitude. Attitude isn't just that I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Sometimes my horse makes me scared. It doesn't feel good when I ask the Delano, let's go ahead and I want you to trot across the pasture, because I know his history. I get a little bit worried, but how do I manage my state and my attitude? It's because I know what I'm okay at. I don't have to worry so much about that, and I can focus on other things. If I only focus on the things that I don't do well, holy smokes, my attitude's in the wrong place, and I will not be a good, I won't have the authority to be a good leader. And on that note of leadership, the way that I define a leader, and this is just for me, is someone that guides and inspires. So with Delano, even though I get worried and I'm a little bit unconfident myself about going, oh, this kind of feels funny. Instead, if I said, oh crap, can I do this? He's going to go, what do you mean? What can you do this? Like, now, well, who do I follow? So it's not just about being a good leader, but it's also being followable. And how are you followable? It's like your attitude has to be right. You have to have a good attitude and all that sort of stuff. So this is all about kind of your attitude. On the next part, I'll pull back up this little sheet. So
Ryan,
go for it. Yep.
You said this defines a good leader, or this is what defines a good leader. You cut out, I don't know what you said.
I said, for me, a definition that I like is someone who guides and inspires others.
Thank you.
So a leader is someone who guides and inspires others. So how would I, and if I wanted my horse to feel guided and inspired at the end? So, all right. So the next piece of that is to look at the bottom part. And I'm not saying to be airy and everything's always great and you need to always be happy, positive. Because you need to look at the habits and skills that you put down below, and that needs to get off the list. You know, so that's got to get fixed. So instead of just going, well, today is 8 laps at the trot on this Hercule day, it's going, crap, you don't stand still under pressure. So when you don't stand still, won't stand still, let's just say, wow, mounting. All right. So let's look at that for just a minute. Well, if you won't stand still and there's mounting happening, mounting is kind of in a way a friendly game. So there's a friendly game issue involved in that. And it's like, all right, well, what is the friendly game anyway? Well, in the end, it's energy. So is my horse, do I have a really positive friendly game when there's high energy going on? Like, simulate that. She might just be changing the game or whatever, but really looking at that going, hey, when there's rhythmic motion that have intention behind it, or whenever there's energy that just flies around, what is your go-to? So when you're playing the friendly game, put it down here. So when you're playing the friendly game, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but it's like, what is the yield that you're looking for? It should be for the yield at the end of the day for a friendly game is a high level of relaxation. It's not just stand still. It starts there. But so it's like, all right, well, I may not have thought about the standing still as it's actually a friendly game, and that instead of the stick and string being the game, it's now my leg. It just happens to be a little more, there's more going on. But it is that. And, let's see here. What else? What else did I write down? Can't read my own writing. Or like with Patrick, he gets I'll write this. He feels unsafe. So, holy cow! How do I make a session around safety and make him feel safe? It's like being aware of that too is now having to be aware of the release. So when he feels unsafe, I've got to look for the slightest try. Because why does he feel unsafe? Like, what's causing that reaction? What's causing that behavior? Because it's either too much pressure. So can he think his way through that? So how do I make the concept of safety a game? You know, it's like, all right, it's easy to make so I understand the 7 games and I can do that, but how do I use psychology and now this concept of safety? And we're going to dive more into what horses, like what they need, feel, think, that, or the safety, comfort, play, and all that sort of stuff, incentive food later. But just writing down that idea of safety, that's the game. I want my session to be all around, Patrick, I want you to feel safe instead of just yielding. And that's to feel safe under pressure. When I'm going at a trot, when I move my stick, when I move this. It's not just yield, stand still, or yield, don't spook. It's I'm going to do this until you feel safe. Or I'm going to, so anyway. Or tense with energy. I wrote this down. You know, it's like someone said at Liberty, it's good, but then when energy comes up, I lose them. It's like, all right, so now you get to have a game around energy and going, all right, I'm gonna, how would you do that? Well, I'm gonna play, again, not sound like a broken record, but in the game in motion, right? So it's like, all right, I'm gonna simulate adding more energy, but the horse now has to learn how to decipher that and see that there's no intention behind the energy. How do you build the gap between the horse getting to read your energy? Well, you need to play friendly game and the driving game and really start going. So for example, sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole now. I call them, I call these sessions Ryan Ramble segments. But it's like, okay, I'm playing the friendly game. I'm standing in zone 3. My horse is at liberty. I'm playing the friendly game. I'm off to the horse's side. I'm facing his haunches. And but even though I'm facing his haunches and I'm moving the stick and string, I did not change my focus and add pressure on his hindquarters. I did not tip my head. I didn't get that Schwiegermützer look on my face. I didn't get that intensity. So you really balancing out the friendly game and driving game really helps too for them to really start to go, whoa, there's intention behind this energy. There's no intention behind this energy. And so I challenge you to do that this next little while. Let's go, right? I'm standing here with my hand over your wither. I'm moving my stick and string to the side. You shouldn't move your feet. But the moment I turn and kind of focus on zone 1 and I get that, and I look high and far over your head, that kind of intensity about it, that means yield. So that they start to look for more than just your movements. So on the what doesn't serve you lit part, that's what you should be kind of organizing your session around right now. And then start to go back into the levels program and go, okay, I'm going to be progressive now, work on changes of direction, or figure 8 patterns, or whatever you're doing. But go, I'm still going to make this won't stand still as important as a figure 8 pattern on a 22-foot truck. And your, what are some things for yourself? Like some things for yourself going, like, I get tense. Even just putting that out on paper, just becoming more aware of it and going, all right, when I get tense, I need to go back to level 2 fluidity and move those puppies. It's like, my ankles hurt. I gotta remember the pedal. I don't need to ride around with this thought of I'm a tense rider. When the tension shows up, how do you problem solve it? I just spent 10 minutes talking about how to kind of problem solve the habits and skills that don't work for the partnership. So you got to do the same thing with your internal dialogue and go, all right, I'm a tense rider. I get tight shoulders. I've got to remember, when I feel the tension, or first of all, how do I know I'm tense? It's because I start to get worse thing and go, when that happens, I got to move it. I got to remember the basic level 2 fluidity. It's got to get in harmony. And then when I get in harmony, then I can start to add more engagement to it. But I've got to get harmony first. Let's see. Yeah, I think there's 2 other things for, forget to go to phase 4, forget to let them make a choice. But even just putting it down now on paper instead of just thinking about it already brings more awareness to all that. Mm-hmm. So I guess what I wanted you to get away from the last part by looking at the bottom is going, I want you to not just focus on what's not working with your horse, but I also, at the same time, this sounds counterintuitive, I want you to make it a program. And I mean this with all the love in the world, but we need to make these things a priority. My horse won't stand still. Like, all right, that's gonna get on top of the list now. And go, all right, how can I help you? How do I over prepare you for, I'm going to prepare you so well that a sumo wrestler is going to get on your back. How would you do that and make it a game? We don't often make it a game. You kind of go, I have a plan, let's go. So make these things a game. And then you go, make safety a game. I have to make the pulling back a game. And I do. It's like, all right, now I'm adding steady pressure on the rope. There's pressure behind your ears. It's an intense environment. And what's your thoughts, Patrick? You got to think about yielding. What's the opposite of a spook? It's a yield. Same thing to some extent with opposition reflex or the opposition. It's like, what's the opposite of a brace? It's also yielding. But the good news is, this is kind of on an aside, and I know this with Patrick, he's a kind of a higher spirited horse, at least for me. going, as much opposition as he offers me sometimes, I got to remember that opposition is a motivated response. So as much effort as your horse opposes you to mount and he's walking around, you go, he puts a lot of effort into this. So I can't wait to now put that energy somewhere else. So opposition reflex is a motivated response. But after we get the opposition to be channeled the right way and the respect, which is the appropriate response to pressure, that energy that's now coming out in a negative state is going to go somewhere more positive. And that's where kind of understanding and kind of getting those things balanced out is really important. So anyway, so I just wanted to spend the first the first session here getting to know you a little bit, like the introductions in the beginning, and getting to share with you this idea of, there's a levels program, and there's 4 phases, and there's 4, there's a big why, there's all this stuff we can do. But if I just look at my horse as a series of habits and skills that's working towards a particular goal, and a goal, I think personally, this is my interpretation of it, I don't care what your end goal is. I don't care if your goal is to go out on the trail or to ride a dressage test and ride down the center line, or to ride across the sunset, or to ride on the beach, or to, it doesn't matter what it is. All of your pictures, no matter what the picture is, involve harmony. And this whole idea of habits and skills, the horses and humans need to become partners, is you're just helping them find harmony in these N4 levels with 4 phases and all the stuff that we do. So just kind of having to step back away from all the tasks we're learning and go, all right, my horse and me is nothing more than a set of skills and a set of habits. So I don't mean to take so much time and probably redundant, but I think you needed to hear it a couple times in different ways to connect to the idea. And I want to challenge you for the next 3 to 4 sessions. Yes, I want you to have a plan. You need to go out and work on your pattern and go out and work on whatever you're doing. But I don't want you to get so serious on going, just have a good attitude about it and just be light about fixing the problem and going, it's just a habit. What can I do to break the pattern? How do I help you to change the habit, instead of going, you always break gait behind my back. What do I have to do to change a habit? If you could think about it in terms of you, like what have you done in your life to change habits that don't work well for you? It's put more pressure on yourself. So even with the horse behind my back, I'm not pressure in that space, so that he makes a choice the next day. It's like, it's not that he's doing it to, he has some big evil plan. He's just, it's his habit. He's found release back there, and he's going to go there. So, and then I got to help him find, he needs to find release coming in front of me, and that's where I want him to be. And then I'll go, actually, keep going one more time. That sort of. So I'll go ahead and stop yakking at you, but are there any comments or questions about this? And then I guess we'll kind of wrap it up. But I'd love to hear you any fact that you have.
I guess, Ryan, I'm trying to think about the things that are good in the skills or the habits. Like, I think I have a really good bridling game with both of my horses. And my younger horse, I'm thinking of how to progress it. But my other horse, he'll chase me in a circle for his bridle and shove his head right through and grab the bit now. So it's really fun. So how do I progress it and also not have him take over?
Yeah, I mean, there's
and
a
that's
point.
just a general thing, not that, but it's kind of like, where's that little balance? How do I keep it fun for him so it's not boring?
So, right. So then you get to go, well, can I bridle my horse from his back? Like, can he take the bit as sitting on it? Or while I'm standing in zone 2 and he has to bend his neck to come and get it, and things like that.
Awesome, because I was thinking about that, because that was the old level 2 I had to pass.
Exactly right. So, but the fun part about this is you're taking something that's adding to it instead of going, got this level 2 task. How do I teach you to bend around? Here's the cookie, and now I'm going to pull it over here, kind of thing. So anyway, so no, and obviously there's a point where I want you to think about this in terms of tasks, but also behaviors as well that are natural. So obviously, like there's a point where on the ground, I'm going to walk the bridle in front, and the horse goes and gets it. You know, that's great. You don't have to where they canter and chase the bit around you in circles. I've seen that, but it's not so important. But it's just the idea of enhancing things you want to enhance.
Did we lose Ryan, or is it just me?
I think we.
I lost him too.
Okay.
I just said that. I'm like, I think I lost Ryan.
Oh no, he died.
Me too.
What's that?
Hi, Ryan.
Oh, we all lost you.
Oh, you lost me. Oh,
For a whole minute.
today it worked well last week. So maybe next week I'll go to the main office and it'll be better there.
And you're just way more creative than me, Ryan, because just you bringing it up, I came up with other ideas to keep things fresh and fun. So I think that's just it. We have to reach out to people about how to keep things fresh and fun, because the goal is really, you know.
Right. Well, that's what this is.
That's probably one of my habits, is that I continually do the same thing over and over. And I'm very left-brained, so I don't have the creativity. And that's probably the hardest thing for me, is I'm very direct line thinking. And that's hard for me.
You're a left brain introvert.
I don't know if I'm introverted. I think I'm extroverted, but
That's not so bad, because when you're right brain, it's hard to find a focus. So I'm like over here and over here.
This is great. But this is what this
Ryan,
stuff is. Go for it. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm trying this on my cell phone, and it keeps like dropping the picture. So I think that's why I'm on the phone too. This is Sherry. I was thinking about how great that was, because one of the things, having the young horse, I was really wondering. I thought, gosh, are all these things inherent to this young horse? Because he would just like look at me a lot, like, oh, what are we doing? Oh, what is that? And he has a lot of natural curiosity. And I was just thinking about the last week, how he hasn't been looking at me as much. But, you know, I stopped rewarding that so much. For the first few months, I would reward that a lot, like, what a good boy. Oh, you're such a good boy. And now I'm like, okay, he's looking at me, go do something else, you know? And so that was a great reminder to go back and refresh that thing.
Balance, right? And that's the hard part, is because there is a point where it's like the horse is always like almost like you want them to ask a question, but there's a point where it's like, now please go on the circle, please, instead of looking at me like this. But there is where of going, oh, he's not asking me as many questions, like, so what has changed? Is it the fact that I've offered him a little more of a plan, and that's a little bit suppressing for him, and it brings up the tension, like this rock. It's all feedback. So I'm happy that it kind of brought something up for you. So great. In the next 2 weeks, especially kind of having this as a filter, I appreciate you what'll happen next is you have my, it's cutting out a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can call me if you have questions or concerns. You can email me anytime you have a question. You can send me a video with anything. As you start to think about things and integrate these ideas into your program, we'll get into even more stuff, and I'll give you more specific things to do as we get going. But start off with these filters and these ideas. I'm sorry the internet was kind of cutting out a little bit today. I'll pick a different location next week. But I will get this video up. I'll send you a link probably tomorrow, and then you'll all have access to review it again and again on my site, and this as well as download. But I'll email this all out to you tomorrow, and kind of look forward to hearing how you go. Anything else?
What kind of homework do you want us to do? Do you want us to kind of look at the form that you gave us and obviously think of the skills and habits, both good and not so good, that we need to work on or that we do well? But I guess what I'm asking is, do we want to try to improve on the things that, like you said, for me, it's not so much mounting. He stands still good when I mount, but he doesn't stand still for anything else. Like when I'm grooming him, or, you know, when I go to put the saddle on. Those are all the things that I honestly probably have let him get away with that I need to be more strict about. So do you want us to pick the things that are not horsemanship related or not partner related and work on those?
Exactly right. So the answer to that, to both sides of that, is yes. So I want you to keep doing what you're doing and your goals. You know, like I want you to keep on your training path, but I want you to be a bit more aware of things that maybe you're taking for granted, and how can you at least acknowledge that, and the horse find comfort in those things, so that it's not all training stress and we're always trying to fix something. But at the same time, I want you to make a list of things that need to become a priority, of things that I need to go. I need to use all the skills that I've learned in the program to start fixing this. He doesn't like being groomed. You know, like, what do you know about that? And if you walk out to the barn tomorrow and it all hits and it all hits all of the and you don't know, then you come back and you ask me for some strategies, and then we'll talk about it a bit more as we get going. But yeah, so the answer is yes. I want you to kind of be more aware of both of these things, the positive and the negatives, and start to make your plans around that, as well as what you're already doing.
Okay.
The biggest part is just even the awareness of this. And like you said, I have probably let that go a little too long, and he's now found release doing that, and therefore it's now become a habit or a skill. Mm-hmm. And then even saying that out loud that way, it's like, oh, it's no big deal. I just got to change the pattern. Instead of going, gosh, dang it, you brown horse, why won't you just stand still? That's how I feel about Patrick sometimes. Like, can you stop calling for them? I'm right here. Like, it's not about me. It's about how he feels about that. Yeah. So,
good stuff.
Anyway.
Before we end.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask you, can you talk sometime or tell us? I'd love to hear the strategies. I don't have that going on right now, but I'd love to hear the strategies you're using.
Yeah.
To interrupt that or change that pattern.
What I'd like to have happen is I'd like for you to bring some of that stuff up next several days. And then we're going to review that the next time, and I'm going to give you lots of those things and how to problem solve that. And then particularly the next session that we have together, look at all the 7 games as to not just what are they, because you all know what that is and you know how to play them, but what are you really playing them for? Solve those things. But I want to get all this in your awareness first, because if I just said, well, here's how you fit, and then I go, well, here's what you do about it, you haven't fully found it yet. So the answer is yes, I'm going to go there. be all in the next session, and then we're going to lay personality into that as well. But this was more or less just to bring up awareness to that. But just for an example, what are some strategies like well, your horse not standing still? It's kind of like I said before, that's just a friendly game thing. So what are some things going? It's like I'm going to on the pommel. I'm going to rock him back and forth until he loves planting his feet on the ground. So it's like he needs to find release in 4 spaces on the dirt. So it's like that's the goal. So the goal isn't just for him to think about I stand here as she hikes her leg over and then off we go. But it's like, can you actually go? Like how does the horse kind of think that that the game is to become immovable? So I'm going to rock this saddle back and forth until he finds the ground and he finds connection to the ground. Or I'm going to just put up one leg and I'm actually going to do the step up and step down 3 times. That's friendly game. That's not driving game. That's not I bounce up and then you hide your hind knee around and then you're doing circles. That's friendly game. So those sorts of things. So we'll dive deep into that next week or next session especially. There's just so many things we need like 3 more hours for that, which we have in the next session. So, anything else? So, thank you so very much. Please reach out as things show up. If you don't have arrows for him, you come and you ask me for arrows, and I'll email you, I'll text you, whatever you need. Send me a video if you need to, all those sorts of things, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time, and we'll get rocking and rolling into more stuff. So thank you so much, and I hope to talk to you in the next 2 weeks.
Great.
Thanks, Ryan. Nice meeting everybody.
Thanks,
Ryan. You too. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
You, Abby?
Bye.
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 Bye.